What if we can positively impact society by reshaping the mindsets of young men? And while we're at it, let me ask you, what does it mean to be a man? My name is Dennis Meralda, a father, a teacher, a coach, a mentor, and a principal with over 2 decades of experience shaping the minds and characters of young men across the United States. If these questions resonate, if you're a young man looking to improve your life or a parent looking for tools to help your son become the best version of himself, the Building Men podcast was created for you. What is up, everyone? Welcome to the Building Men podcast, or welcome back. If you are a longtime listener, and if you are, you'll recognize our guest today. It is none other than the world famous Mike Salemi on the Building Men podcast, episode 88 and 132. One of my favorite guests of all time. The last time Mike was on, Anthony and I were singing a song to him. We'll see if we can get Mike singing to us today. Salemi, what's up, dude? Good to have you on.
What up, big dog? Good to be here again. Stoked, man. Always stoked to catch up with you.
So you and I talk every month or two just to touch base, to shoot the shit a little bit. And the journey that you've been on over the last almost year now, it's been really interesting for me because you became a father for the first time. So let's start off right there. What's it been like since Luca's been born? A couple of the papa lessons that you've learned over the last year of your life.
Man, he's going through so many phases, and it's like every single few days. Like, I know you were recovering from a cold right now. My whole family's been recovering from a cold. We were sick for like 10 days, and in that time frame, it's like not only every few days does he up level or upgrade or things get unlocked, whether it's movement or speech. Or just like control of facial features right now. He's a little over 11 months. And when he got out of that cold, I was like, God damn, this guy is like crawling so quick, doing jujitsu, just like laughing. And so
To learn more about our programs, including one-on-one mentorship coaching, the foundation, our Building Men online group community for young men, or to bring a Building Men experience to your school, check out our website, buildingmen.io, or click the links in the bio. Now, back to the show.
I mean, the biggest thing, because like I said, every few days or every few weeks, it's really like a completely different, I don't want to say it's not a different role in fathering, but it requires different stuff. Like as his level of freedom goes up, we got to baby proof even more, or like, so it's just been this wild, vortex of being a dad and rolling with it and observing him and letting him honestly guide the process. And as he's developing and changing and evolving, I mean, my relationship with Lauren is changing and evolving. And so there's been so many lessons. I think maybe one of the biggest ones that's at the forefront of my mind, because I'm with him. I take the morning shift, so like 4:35 a.m. till about 7. And bro, the amount of play, like, and now, and I know we're probably going to do this maybe on the show, but because I throat sang so much when he was in Lauren's belly, Mongolian throat sang, and then all during, it was the way I've soothed him when he, since he came out or came into the world, and I soothed him every time he would cry, all that stuff. And I drum a lot, like shamanic drum, and I played the didge and all that stuff. So just the other day, dude, he took the drum beater, and I'll have to send you this video because he's just on rhythm, like on rhythm, boom, 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 boom,
Wow.
boom, boom, boom. And as he's doing that, I'm throat singing. It was one of the coolest fucking things ever. So we just every morning we play. Now we're drumming. He grabbed the didgeridoo and put it to his mouth and tried to do that. So the amount of play that's been unlocked in me as a person who likes to get shit done, and play hasn't always been a big priority.
Right.
That's, I would say, one of the biggest things right now.
All right, so we're gonna pause right here. I mean, I have a treat for you, a treat for the audience. Let me just set this up as we're talking. We talked about, it was like a month and a half ago, and you're talking about this Mongolian throat singing or this Tuvian throat bowl, and I was like, Salemi, you got to talk to me a little bit more. So you sent me 2 videos, And so I'm gonna play about 20 seconds of this video because I was intrigued by this, and I listened to it more than once, and people that are walking by the studio right now, they're like, what the hell is going on in there? So just for the benefit of the audience, we're gonna give this about 20 seconds of time right now for everyone to listen to. All right, that'll be the mic drop moment there. All right, so that's what you were talking about when you were telling me that you're doing this like humming and chanting and whatever to Luca. So I'm gonna give you the mic right now. I mean, do with it what you will. If you want to do some throat chanting or and I saved the message too. You're like, my throat is yours or something like that in the voice message you sent. I was like, wow, I don't know if I'm like turned on by this or if I'm totally petrified by this.
Oh shit.
So talk to us a little bit about where this came from and what you've learned through this throat singing that you're doing here.
Yeah, so so the way it started, I've always been drawn to it. I would say always, but probably the last, I don't know, 10 years. Like I've always thought like it was so interesting, so cool. Like when you as I so I've taken throat singing lessons once a week for well over a year, and I took a throat singing I took two throat singing courses. And in that time, it was literally just for my own exploration. And when I was listening to him and I started learning about him, so Tuvan throat singing, well, you'll hear different, so there's multiple different styles of throat singing. Um, and like most people who are familiar with one style called Kagura, that's like what the Tibetan monks would also do. And so you might hear some of that in Tibetan monk meditations. And so it's not just strictly in Mongolia, but different aspects of the styles have been used by different cultures or different people. And what's interesting is they mimic sounds of nature. And so
Mhm.
whether it's like a stampeding of the buffalo, the sound of thunder, or like these piercing sounds of animals or birds, and these like primordial sounds. And so when I had first listened to it, probably I'm gonna throw something out like 10 years ago or something, I was like, that's insane. What is that? That just feels good and feels like deep, like it's
Yeah.
unlocking something in me. And so on one, I remember when I was making the transition into men's work, and I told Lauren, I think I shared this with you offline, and I was like, sweetheart, like I need to figure out what's next. Like
Mhm.
I need to like I need some time to myself. And so I went into the woods, stayed for a few days, and the whole intention was like allowing myself to really, really fully dream. Like, like we always hear, like if money was no object, what would you do?
Mhm.
Or like if there was no restriction, what would you do? And I brought some of those questions, but I really went into it with as much like of my heart as possible and like my full body, mind, and spirit. Like what the F do you want to do? Like, honestly, what do you want to do? And so there was a few things that came out of it. Three things. One was I felt the call to actually start leading my own containers of men's work.
Mhm.
The second thing was I wanted to learn the shamanic drum. And then the third thing, I was like, I'm going to learn to fucking throat sing. And for no other reason other than it was a curiosity. And so I started just learning it, and I started just like, wow, this feels really good. Like it vibrates the throat all the way down. You feel just everything just enlivening, and it's really grounding. And so I hooked up with a teacher who's actually like one of the like a gangster in throat singing. His name is Jerry Walsh. Like he's got, I mean, his videos on YouTube are insane, but he works for a company called Dig Project. And so Jerry Walsh, if anybody looks up his stuff, and his wife, I can't pronounce it, but Ixchel, Ixhel, is this amazing singer. And I'd been following her tracks for way longer than I was even aware of throat singing. And he's like, "Oh yeah, me and my wife, we sing together." And I was like, "Hey, what's your wife have tracks?" He's like, "Oh, it's Ixchel Prisma." And I was like, "Wait, what?" So I hooked up with Jerry, and he leads a lot of plant medicine work and stuff like that. And he was just an amazing teacher. And what I liked about him, because in another course I had taken, it was run by a Mongolian guy, And it didn't quite have the entrance of like a Westerner who's never had any non-singing experience. So I remember the way that guy taught me was like he had me bracing. Imagine like you're trying to push a heavy ass piece of furniture, like I don't know, you're trying to slide an armoire, like hugely heavy. So you would like lean your body against the wall, pretend like you're pushing, and you would make like this grunting sound. And it was so forced, and I felt like I was going to pop blood vessels in my whole body. And I was like, this is just really straining. And then I worked with Jerry, and I was like, oh, this is relaxing. This is enjoyable. So I did that. This was all before Luca. And I would practice in the car, in the truck, because no one could like, disturb me. So I just go and I'd be like, whoa. And and then when we had Luca, I did it right away.
Yeah.
And what I found, bro, was no matter how um crying he was, no matter what was happening, within a matter of 3 to 8 seconds of, I'll do a quick sample of it, the Kagura one, he would literally down regulate and just calm down right away. So this tone is it. So that, and there's a lot of different nuances within that, but I'll pause there. But that's the main one that really down regulates him. That feels amazing when I do it with him.
So I've been doing this podcast for 3.5 years right now, almost 200 episodes. By the time this drops, it will be over 200. That was one of my favorite moments in the history of the podcast right there. First of all, thinking about you driving in your truck doing that. I mean, people must have thought you were absolutely insane, especially if your windows are rolled down in the Shasta, California area. I mean, you must have gotten some looks. I mean, I know if I'm driving down the road singing Snoop Dogg from 1993, I get some looks as a white dude in his mid 40s. But when you're doing the Tuvian throat calling, you got to get some looks doing that.
Oh, dude, you get some looks, and I remember Jerry would always tell me, he's like, open your chest and project. Like literally,
Yeah,
you're projecting, like I don't know, you're going to an audience to really unlock that
yeah,
sound. So I'd be like, whoa. And they would just be like, if I was driving, people would be like, what is going?
it's
Because
amazing.
even if the windows were closed, they could just see the
Yeah.
intensity. Yeah.
Well, it vibrates everything else, right? I mean, I'm sure there are women and their seats are vibrating and they're like getting all flushed, like, I don't know what's happening to me, honey. There's a man next to me that's throat singing and I'm feeling strange in my loins right now. So, well, all right. So now take it to with your son. First of all, like when he first heard it, when you mentioned when Lauren was pregnant and he connected to that sound. So a genius way for you as his father to connect with him while he was in her belly, and when he comes out and he hears that. And another great way just to, shut him the fuck up when he's crying right now, you could do that throat singing, right? So talk to us a little bit about, that connection that you've had with him. Does he recognize it immediately? Is he starting to mimic those sounds a little bit right now? What's going on there?
Dude, it's so cool because one of the things that I really didn't like and was triggering for me when I would talk to not all dads, but when I would talk to a good handful of dads, their advice or their experience of fatherhood, these were older men that I'm
Yeah.
talking about. They were like, Mike, for the first 2 years, forget you. It's not about you, it's mom. You do nothing, just work. And I was like, no, like, F no. Like, I want, like, it's not,
Yeah.
no way. So I was really searching. I was like, what is something outside of like, helping Lauren and feeding him, like, and playing with him, but like, what can I do to develop this strong bond? And then when he came out and I would sing to him and he would calm and then fall asleep on me. Cause as you heard, like, not only does the throat vibrate, but my whole chest. So when I go with him, even now, skin to skin, especially like at night or anytime he's going to sleep, and I put him there and I sing, it's almost what I've understood and through the experiences, especially when he's crying, it's almost like because the infant's always regulating to our nervous system. So it's almost like a way to kind of like, I don't know, overpower where he's at. And then he joins me in it
Hmm.
in terms of like, he immediately calms down. And also now, because he's got these teeth coming out, and so he's in a lot of pain. One of the things that's wild is if he doesn't go to sleep, and I'm doing it when he's like in obviously visible pain, he'll like it's literally very similar to a plant medicine ceremony. You'll hear him kind of like moaning in pain, like I'll throat sing. At first, it's like this loud cry, but then he'll like be off gassing as I'm throat singing. So I'll do the same tone that I was just showing, and then you'll hear him go, ah. So he's like purging,
Yeah.
and then he settles. So it's been a way for us to bond, for him to like get regulated, for him to like process what I'm my experience of what he's going through, kind of process the discomfort. So, and he recognizes for sure it's me. And now, like I said, he's grabbing the drum
Yeah.
at 11 months and beating it. And so I'm like, this is awesome. Like, this is a blast.
And when you could give your kids these little lessons and outlets at the same time, it's magical. It really, really is. And you're also teaching your kid to be able to regulate his emotions. Where I'm so critical of what's going on in schools right now, and kids are never taught by parents and or educators how do you regulate yourself when you feel yourself getting stressed out, when you feel yourself getting dysregulated. So you're teaching him this by going through this experience with him. And so he'll have this in his bag of tricks as he gets older. He might not know why he's doing what he's doing, but he'll have that. So it's really cool that you're doing it with intentionality, Mike. And I have to ask, is that something that you think about right now? So your son will be a year old soon, and there's these little milestones that kids go through, and so much of who they are, their personality, what they're going to be is developed in the first 5 or 6 years of their life, right? So talk to me a little bit about some other intentional things that you have on the horizon for your son as a dad.
Um, so it's interesting. So like I'll share a bit about Lauren. So Lauren is my wife is incredibly intelligent and like is almost has the mind of like a researcher. Like she's studying, myself included, like one of our core values that we really share individually and as a couple is whatever you want, like continual learning or like
Yeah.
we met in courses together, taking Czech courses, and so she's always studying and almost like a forensic, like always wanting to know deeper, deeper, deeper. And while that's like a beautiful asset, one of the things that impressed me most about when she was pregnant and even now, like she'll still research stuff, but we've both done our very best to just go with what we intuitively feel and what we intuitively know in terms of like guiding him. So, like, in terms of the milestones, like, I'm just trying to give him like get out of the way,
Mhm.
like in terms of like for example we just built one of the rooms in just like a playroom, so there's it's actually quite big. We baby proofed it, so now like it's just like I just let him go ham. So I'm already scoping out gymnastics equipment and stuff, so I want to just let him be a kid as much as possible, get out of the way. And so in terms of milestones, it's something that we're definitely aware of, but I really want to the best of our ability to like just let him guide the process and us kind of just, obviously at his age right now, like we're the governor as well, like so he can understand his limits and his boundaries and what's safe, what's not safe. But outside of just like that sort of stuff, I'm just excited to, as much as possible, let him come into his own. And it's so cool because like really truly like every kid has their own
Yeah.
personality, and we're just starting to see his like funny, sweet as hell, um and like pretty determined. Like he's a determined kid with it, and like I said, every single day he's teaching me shit.
So with what you've learned over the last year plus, you said you got a lot of advice from people where they were like, hey, listen, it's you're not going to have much impact in your kid's life in the first 2 years, so don't even give it a shot, right? And so you've definitely debunked that. You can definitely have a huge impact as a dad in the beginning of your kids' lives. If you were talking to someone right now who is expecting a child, what's a piece of advice you're going to give them as they're embarking on this journey?
Ooh, that's a great question. So a few things come up. One, um I mean, it touches on one of the things touches on what I just said, like trust yourself, like your ability to be a parent. Like it's something that's been happening for fucking forever, since human history began. Like there's people far less equipped than you, I, or whoever's listening to this show, and they've made it through. So like trust in our innate ability to be mothers and fathers. And as helpful as books can be and all that sort of stuff, like, do you, like, you parent the way that you feel
Yeah.
right with you. And like it's always good to get advice and stuff like that. But if I would just say just trust out in your ability, that's one. The other thing, dude, that's been amazing is, and this was a huge surprise for me. Like I thought this journey was going to be like as much as I quote unquote prepared, and all the work that I've done before has helped me to this point, but I had no idea how much selfishly I was going to grow in the process. Like when I'm with him, and especially when he came out, like all of the stories of, the stories I've told myself, I'm not good enough. Um, there's something wrong with me. I'm imperfect. All of these stories, like I learned those. And when I look at him, especially when I caught him out of when we were in the hospital, I look at him and I would never, ever tell him there's something wrong with you. I
Right.
would never tell him you're not enough. Like the purity, the innocence from like a visceral level, like he's perfect just the way he is. He is enough. He is complete. And so witnessing that in him and holding him, and then also asking myself the questions or just like reflecting on like, holy shit, like that's me too, or that's the little child within me.
Wow.
And so like even holding him, I go through these visualizations of like me holding me as an infant. And like so he's also been this amazing conduit for me to heal parts of myself that I've forgotten, that I've neglected, that I've shamed. And it's been one of the most like heart opening things that I was not expecting. And even like I shared this morning with play, like play wasn't really, it was when I was young, but then due to like I assumed an adult responsibility from a very young age.
Hmm.
And so with that said, there was always like this sense of obligation that I needed, like in order to play, I had to earn time to play, or I wasn't able to play until I got stuff done, or I had to achieve a certain thing for me to relax and to play. And now I'm really realizing like what would it be like to play just for the simple sake of playing? What would it be like to relax just for the simple sake of relaxing without having to earn it? And so as I play with him, I'm just like so much within me is like opening up, and then we play and I look at him and he just bursts out into laughter and I'm acting like a gorilla. And so it's so interesting because it really, I thought it was going to be this like father son relationship, this like this big separation. And what I'm realizing is I'm playing with him, but by and large, when I'm in that state, I'm also like playing with that younger part of
Hmm.
me. And that's what still blows me away. So that's what I would, to your point, like what tip would I give? Maybe it's just being as present as possible with your child and allowing parts of you to come out, that allowing parts of you to have the permission to come out and play and dance and sing, and recognize if you do so, at least through my experience, you're going to grow so much in that process.
I love that. It resonates so at such a deep level with me too, just with my own kids. My son especially, just still being that goofy kid. He's gonna be 19 years old soon.
Wow.
And we still will play together. Like we're in the grocery store. I'm like, all right, let's see if I can make whatever into the cart, the bag of chips into the cart from 40 feet away. Like I'm gonna try to do that, and we get some looks or whatever. But it's still, I still want to have that youthful like vibrance or exuberance. So don't ever lose that. That's such a huge part of it. All right, so now with your work with men, has being a dad transformed your outlook or how you're working with men based on your experiences as a dad over the last year?
Bro, you just hit something big for me. So we do the men's retreats typically twice a year that I lead called Men of Movement. And he's I'm trying to think. Yeah. So he's come to two of them. And the first one, he was like, I think like 3 months old. So he
Yeah.
was in this house separate. This last one, we did a different venue in Mount Shasta. And so it was a different venue. And so at certain points, he saw the group. Like, let's
Okay.
say they were coming back from the sweat lodge, or Lauren was making something, and so he was definitely off to the side, but at some points present. And so one of the things that was so wild for me and so heart opening was, after I remember, there's a picture on my Instagram where I forget at what point, maybe it was at the end of the retreat, but he's sitting in a living room, and you have like 6 to 8 guys sitting on the couch, all with different facial expressions.
Yeah.
And they're all like, and they're watching him crawl, and they're kind of watching over him like these uncles. And I had multiple guys tell me at the retreat afterwards, like, thank you so much for sharing your family with us, and having Luca here, like, brought this, even though it was very brief moments, like, brought something really special. And so I let, a lot of the guys, if they said, hey, can I hold him? So I say, absolutely, you're an uncle, your uncle, Uncle Joe or whatever. And I saw these guys, dude. It was so interesting because I get to see so many parts of these guys. Like, we do a lot of fun stuff, a lot of challenging stuff at these retreats. So you get to see like the range of the human experience, from deep belly laughter to tears to anger.
Yeah.
And when I saw these guys hold Luca, bro, like, there was something that just, I was so shocked because I saw just this like massive light inside of them. Like, it was so cool to witness. And like, I'm having difficulty finding words, but as they held him, I was like, wow, like, he is medicine. Children, the innocence, the purity of children is medicine. And even in like the meditations or the breath work that I lead at the retreat, like, at some points I would guide through like some, I would say, like, some inner child work. So like envisioning your inner child, and I would walk through a process of that I lead. And it's so helpful for me because I'm envisioning him in many regards. So
Mhm.
he's such an inspiration for me. And like, so as I lead these things within my experience of it, I feel so connected to him and those parts of me. And so I know it impacts the way that I lead. And then witnessing the men have the experience of him and then connecting to him, it's completely leveled up like my understanding in terms of the leadership of it, but then also their direct experience with him. And again, multiple guys have commented like it was so healing or so beautiful and so reminding of Luca and what it brought up. So it's been a big game changer, bro.
I love that. And I mean, one, a gift to you, but also a gift to him as he's getting older. The more and more he experiences, one, watching you as his father lead a group of men, but then also it's such a rite of passage for a young man to watch men interact in that way. And what the work that you're doing
Mm.
is remarkable work. I mean, it really is game changing work. So for excuse me, I'm sick still. I'm like this is like an aggressive. I'm gonna call that throat singing. That was my first foray into throat singing. I got to call Jerry Walsh to see what he thought about that one. But him him watching you do this, but then also the like little incremental pieces that I'm sure you'll introduce to him as he, is 6 years old, something that you could have him do when he's 6, and all of a sudden he's 12, and then he's 15, and he's a part of it. Right. And now he's one of the tribesmen, and just there's this ceremonial thing that comes along with it. So as far as a father is concerned, I mean, you have this really cool playbook laid out in front of you for raising your son in a way where he'll go through all these incremental little things, but doing it watching men interact in a, there's the physicality of it, there's the emotional piece, there's the cognitive piece, there's the sweat lodge piece, there's so much there, Mike. It's really remarkable that I'm able to, from the sidelines, watch you raise your son in that capacity. So it's really cool, dude. I appreciate you sharing that with me. So I wanted to give you an opportunity to talk about what you're doing now with athleticism for life. I still can't believe I just did like this whole like aggressive cough out there like that. Like I still have it in my chest, and I'll use it as a, oh my god, as a segue First time I'm really coughing like that on the podcast to talk about this bolt assessment that I just did, because I'm doing your athleticism for life course. Basically, I purchase, and we'll put all this information into the show notes for people to log in and to go through this course. And when we talked, I said I'm doing a Spartan race at the end of April, and I have a whole training regimen that goes along with it. But I'm always interested in improving my level of fitness and doing things that I'm uncomfortable with. It stretches me outside of my comfort zone a little bit, something that I've never done before. And this is your baby. This is your wheelhouse. And I said, talk to me a little bit about what you're doing right now. And you're like, well, I have a course that I just got done recording, and it went live in the beginning of January, Athleticism for Life. And a big part of it is that you use this Bulgarian bag, and there's a whole thing that comes along with it. So I downloaded the course and I started it today. And the beginning is the intro piece to it. And you're having people do this bolt assessment. It's a breathing assessment. And so I did it today as I'm having a tough time breathing, and I couldn't get to 25 seconds. So I was like at 24 seconds, and I tried it like 3 or 4 times, and I would get to the end, and that's what it would sound like. I would hold my breath, and I would have like this aggressive cough. And I'm recognizing that I have like an upper respiratory issue right now, as people can tell. And dude, I apologize for this. This is so unprofessional. So talk to us a little bit about what first that bolt assessment is, and then walk us into a little bit about the course while I take a drink of water, because this is totally embarrassing right now on the podcast.
No, no, it's all good. And actually, it's like, oh, yeah, I'm almost surprised you were able to get to 24, because actually, while I was recording that program, at least like a lot of the breathing videos, I was in or coming out of a cold. Our family got we were sick for over almost 2 weeks. Luca got a cold, the whole family, and I was like, shoot, I got to get this thing out by January 1. So some of those videos, like you'll notice, like,
Yeah.
and also too, I recorded. Not all the workouts were shot separately in the woods, but I recorded a lot of the intro videos honestly at like midnight, 1, 2, 3 a.m. while the house is quiet because Luca and stuff like that. So I only bring that up because I was testing my bolt, and I do it all the time, and I'll break down what it is for the listeners. But I noticed normally my bolt score's been around 35, 37. 40 seconds is considered like optimal breathing. It dropped down to like 19, 20 seconds. And so it actually was really telling too, because even if it was like 25 seconds, let's just say, which is a threshold for functional breathing, like I still like was in no shape to train
Yeah.
when I was in that. So a bolt test, for those who aren't familiar, so bolt just stands for body oxygen level test. And what it is, it's a very simple controlled pause, and it's an indirect measurement of your body's level of breathlessness, both at rest and also potentially even during exercise. And what it's measuring is, so when you're looking at breathing as a whole, typically it's assessed in 3 different dimensions. So typically when you're looking at dysfunctional breathing patterns, you're looking at what's called the biochemistry. So that is specifically the bolt test. It's looking at what's called chemosensitivity to carbon dioxide. So all that said, if someone was to hold their breath right now, so let's just say if you're following along with me, take a normal inhale through the nose, take a normal exhale through the nose, pinch your nose and hold. Now, as you're holding the breath, every second that goes on, you're going to start feeling the sensation that you want to breathe. You're going to start craving. There's going to be an air hunger that's starting to develop. So what's actually happening is the body, and so wherever you hit your natural, just go ahead and resume breathing right now.
Right.
So yeah, keep breathing. So as you're feeling that air hunger increase, the body's primary stimulus to breathe, the primary impulse that lets you know, I need to take that breath, is carbon dioxide levels raising in the body. So the more air hunger you feel, the more that CO2 is rising. Now, that's really important, because what most people don't understand, the way we were always taught to breathe, or at least for me, was, at the end of a workout or in football, like wherever you are, take a big breath in through your nose, take a big breath out through your mouth, like,
Yep. Yeah.
well, that actually does the opposite of what you want to do. It may feel better, right? It may feel good in the moment because you're getting this elastic stretch in the lungs, and then there's that relaxation component. But what's actually happening is, so if hemoglobin is what carries oxygen in the body, oxygen gets released from hemoglobin in the presence of carbon dioxide. So actually, if you breathe lighter, if you breathe less air in, if you raise your level of CO2 tolerance, let's say, you're going to be more efficient in uptake and efficiency and sending oxygen. So what the Bolt test is doing is it's a controlled pause. Now, it's not perfect, as I share in the program, because and also too, like if you're a perfectionist like myself, like I always want to like, okay, 25 seconds is the functional breathing and 40 is optimal. Like you got to be really careful, and it will take time to develop like your relationship with it. But really what you're doing is you're taking a normal breath in through the nose, silent, a normal breath out. You pinch your nose and hold. And then basically you're holding your breath until you feel the first definite desire to breathe. Now, definite desire to breathe can show up typically in a few ways, but most commonly, it's going to be some type of involuntary movement or contraction of your diaphragm, or a contraction or a spasm like in your throat. Like you might notice you want to swallow. As soon as you notice that first definite desire to breathe, you stop the clock and then you resume breathing through your nose. Now, what we can tell is, like, for example, like when someone has COVID, oftentimes, like they're going to be, or whatever, the flu, whatever you want to call it, they're probably going to be at like 10, 15 seconds. And you can start really, it's a very, like, even though it's not perfect, it's a really good, pretty accurate measurement of functional or dysfunctional breathing. And every like 3 to 5 seconds that someone increases their Bolt score, you will have noticeable changes in like your focus, in your energy, in your sleep, in your conditioning level. So the Bolt test is one of the tests that we use in the program. And because the whole program ideally is at least done 50 to 100% breathing in and out through the nose, not through the mouth. And you can test your ability to improve your capacity and your breathing, which is how you're going to regulate your nervous system, through the Bolt test.
So if I'm now at a level that's under that, you know, 25 seconds, where you're saying, okay, it should be at least 25 seconds. And as you're talking about it right now, 24 seconds for me, that was when I was like, "Huh," like I gasped at the end. It was,
Okay.
I probably felt the urge, my body was like, what the hell are you doing right now, asshole? You need to take a breath. And a few seconds before that. So if I'm struggling with this right now, so I'm under that optimal level, what are certain things that I could be doing to increase that? Talk to me a little bit about, like, if I'm a person, I do this test. And if you're listening right now, give it a shot. Try it right now. Try what Mike just said. Breathe in, breathe out, and then hold it, and take your watch and count down or count up and see how far you get. So what can I do if I need to do some work in that area?
Such a good question. And you said a really good thing as well, a really important point. So the way, and the more that you get used to this, again, you'll start dialing in when's the right time to stop, but you should be able to recover immediately after. So like you should be able to return to a normal breath. So if you're gasping at any level, you went too far.
Mm-hmm.
So one thing that you can do is you test your Bolt. So let's just say my number was 20 seconds. All right, in, out, and that's when I noticed it. I marked down 20 seconds. Give yourself a minute to recover, because it'll take about a minute for your CO2 levels to normalize. And then try, just in the beginning, test it again, and then go for 22 seconds. Go for 2 seconds longer. And when you hold for 2 seconds longer, notice if you can return to a normal, easy breath in through the nose right away, or are you gasping? Okay. And then if you had 20 seconds originally, then after that, test for 18 seconds, 2 seconds less. And if you did 2 seconds less, just notice how your recovery is after.
Mm-hmm.
So you'll do an initial, a little bit more, a little bit less, and you should be able to immediately go back to a normal breath. And that's how I would measure it. Now, in terms of improving your Bolt score, which is again the indirect measurement for functional or dysfunctional breathing, there was a study that came out that said and this is kind of where the numbers originate, or what validates the numbers, is there was an 89% chance of, or an 89% statistic, that if someone had lower than 25 seconds on the Bolt test, they had dysfunctional breathing. Or otherwise said, if you have a Bolt test of 25 seconds or above, 40 actually being optimal, there's an 89% chance that you have functional breathing. Okay. So meaning you breathe low through the belly, you breathe slow. There's a natural pause at the end of your exhalation breath. That's normal. So typically we start seeing the natural pause at the end of the exhalation at about an 18-second Bolt score. So what can someone do? There's kind of two, I'll give one big one, but two major things. Uh, Different forms of short duration, even longer duration for sure, which would simulate altitude training, breath holds. But really, what I would suggest is this right here, which is I'll give you a few different ideas for it, but breathing light. So, what breathing light is, and I go through this in multiple different ways in the program, because originally I talked to you about when you're looking at breathing, you can look at the biochemistry. So, that's the Bolt test and our chemosensitivity. You can look at the biomechanics. So, are you breathing low and using your diaphragm? And you can just observe that in terms of how someone breathes. And then the third thing is it's typically measured in their psychophysiology. So typically that's just the mind body connection. Now, when you're training it with breathe light, we talked about earlier, by breathing in less air, paradoxically, you're actually becoming more efficient with how you utilize oxygen. So, a simple exercise, just super simple, is you're going to close your mouth, tongue on the roof of the mouth, swallow, keep your tongue there. You'll breathe in and out of your nose. I would say start with 2 minutes. 4 minutes is a good clip, a good training set. But honestly, for stress relief, for increasing blood flow to the brain, to increasing functional breathing, even before bed, you can go 10, 15 minutes of this exercise. But what you do is you breathe in and out of your nose, start the clock. And what I want you to do is I want you to breathe in about approximately 30% less air than you normally would. But I want you to do so not by tensing, like not by like trying to force less air in or force less air out. You're just going to relax. And another way you can do it is you can place your finger underneath your nose and you want to breathe so softly, so lightly that almost like the hairs on the inside of your nostrils don't move. And if you were to breathe with your finger underneath your nose, you would barely feel the warm air touching. Now that 30% less air, you don't want to go so far into it to where it sends you in a panic state. So if someone listening to this right now is prone to anxiety or panic attacks, less is more. And also when you're in it, because breathing, like if I told you to hold your breath, like it's basically like you're suffocating yourself almost. So it's very quick to send someone if they're not used to it or if they have anxiety or panic disorders. You don't want to send someone, you don't want to send them out of order. So less is more, and find that therapeutic zone where you start noticing a little bit of air hunger and you want to maintain that for the 2, 3, or 4 minutes. By doing that, by breathing light, once again, you're increasing your CO2 tolerance, which is going to increase oxygen uptake. And what you'll notice after breathing light, this is a great way to check what it's doing for you. For let's say 4 minutes of breathing light, you should notice, or I would check in, do you notice your hands getting warmer? Do you notice the saliva in your mouth increasing? Do you notice almost like a little bit of drowsiness, almost like you're getting sleepy? Those are all measurements of the parasympathetic nervous system activating. So that is one exercise that you can do. So breathe light, less air in, about 30% in the therapeutic zone. And over time of drilling that. And so the biggest ways is breathe light during at rest. So at any point that you're not talking or eating, your mouth is closed. And then during sleep, either wearing mouth tape or if you wake up in the morning with a dry mouth, it lets you know you're transitioning to mouth breathing. Those are the three areas: breathe light, and then at rest, and then all forms of exercise and at sleep. If you focus on those four areas, you over the course of 3 to 4 weeks, if not much sooner, you will notice a drastic change, or a noticeable change. I don't want to say drastic, but a noticeable change in how your energy levels, your focus, your stress, all of those measurements.
Yeah, I appreciate that. And what I love whenever you're on, Mike, is that you give like immediate practical strategies that people can implement. So
Mm.
you talked to us one time about, getting cold exposure, and you were like, try this, try this, try this, or taking a drink of water and going to the gym and train with just breathing through your nose. And it's, you talk to, a lot of the young men, and part of one of the programs that we did. And I know my son was like, I tried that. It's really hard. It's really hard to do. But what you do is you give it in a way it's approachable, but it's something that you don't need any equipment. Just go and give this a shot, do a pre-assessment, do this work. Here's a couple strategies to do, and here's the benefits of it. So if you're listening right now, like, what a great opportunity to increase your energy, boost your mood, work on all of these, your focus, your overall health and well-being, by just increasing the way that you're, increasing the efficiency of your breath. And more than anything, like how you think about it, because when do we ever think about our breathing unless we're intentional about it as well? So that's awesome, dude. I appreciate that.
Mm.
I'm gonna do as you're talking, whenever you're talking about it. I mean, I have my tongue up against the roof of my mouth, and I'm trying it without putting my finger in front of my nose because I don't want to have another coughing fit. But it's something that you could do right away, which I appreciate. All right, so now I've done this bolt test, and it seems like I cheated on it now that now that we just talked about it.
First time, first time.
First time. So I'm going through this program right now, and talk to me a little bit about what's in store for me, because what I'm going to do is have you back on after I've gone through the program and talked about my experience. So I want to know like what's in store for me. What do I have to think about? What should I expect to go through over the course of the next month or so as soon as I get this Bulgarian bag to go through this program?
Dude, I'm so excited for you. Like, this program was the program. I mean, I guess you could say this about every program I've created based off of where I'm at as a person, as a coach, because it's very reflective of what I really feel, as I'm working with more clients or whatever, like what I really feel people need and what also I feel really matters. So this is the program for multiple reasons, the program I've always wanted to create. I've been using the Bulgarian bag for almost 13 years. I teach for Soupless, which is the inventors of the original bag. And the reason why it's called Athleticism for Life is, I mean, there's many reasons for it, but it's really because, I mean, the bag, yeah, it's definitely a Bulgarian bag training program, but the bag's probably less than 50% of the program. I've got full blown breath training, breath lectures, everything that I'm sharing now, plus so much more. There's like 5 programs in one. There's a mobility module. There's working in, where Paul Chek delivers, I think, 9 video lectures, small lectures, and working in and active meditation. I give an hour-long recovery and stretching session using Eldoas and myofascial stretching. There's super thorough warm-ups. There's the bolt test. So it's really, you will learn like the Bulgarian bag is a very technical tool. However, one of the great things about it is it's effing soft. The reason why the Bulgarian bag was originally created was it was created by Ivan, who is an Olympian and the U.S. Olympic coach for wrestling, for wrestlers on the mat, to have one tool that wouldn't damage the floor, that allows you to train in multiple patterns, multiple planes of movement, get a great workout, train your grip in a short amount of time. And so even though it's technical, it's soft. And so if your technique's slightly off, unlike a kettlebell, which I love too, it's like if your technique's off on the clean or on the snatch, you're going to know it.
Yeah, yeah, you can break your wrist.
You break.
Yeah.
So with the bag, it's soft. And so what we say is, the Bulgarian bag training is easy to do, but hard to master.
Mm-hmm.
And so what you're going to get in that program is a ton of technical coaching. And one of the challenges with an online program is, obviously I don't have you in front of me. And I've had people, almost a 70-year-old lady, all the way down to, I think like 12-year-old kid, all the way up to elite level fighters doing it and testing it out. And because I give so many different levels of progressions and regressions and ways to level up, level down, it really is, to the best of my ability, a program for damn near everybody. And like I said, the Athleticism for Life, like, if it was just the bag, to be honest, I would be excited about it, but nowhere near as excited as I am, because you will learn, like, you're training for the Spartan race. Like, that's a brutal fucking race. Like, what you're going to do is brutal. So what I really wanted to do, having been injured multiple times as an elite athlete, to just coaching a lot of people, it's like, we all need the other elements. And so the Bulgarian bag is a big part of it, but it's really only one leg of the table. So you will learn through my lens, how I approach conditioning, and you'll see it's way more than the bag program. So hopefully my prayer or my intention is that your Spartan race will go up, how you feel, how your spine moves, how you can play with your kids and fucking throw the football. Like, it will just improve every single aspect and teach you the things that you need to know so that you can stay athletic for the long term.
And what I'm doing the training, I mean, you mentioned it's different when you have someone in your presence rather than me watching you on a computer screen or on, casting up onto the television to watch while I'm doing it. But I'm gonna be sending you videos of me doing the bag while I'm going at, at, at the same time. Just that you know me well enough now that you know that that's in store for you as well. So with this, when you put this program together, it was really cool to hear about it as you were trial running it. I still remember, and you're like, I'm really excited about this thing I got coming up. I'm going to record it. And when you were first in the stages of it, and then to see you on the screen today as I was watching it, it was a cool moment for me, like this moment of pride and
Mm.
love for you that it came to fruition, because I know that there's so much that went on behind the scenes. So talk to us a little bit about that process, because it's like people just see the finished product, right? Where there's the video and then there's things going on in the background, and it's like, okay, look at this video, download this thing, here's a quick assessment. What was it like on the other end for you to go through this whole process?
Dude, this one, I'll be honest, like this one pushed me. This one stretched me in ways that like every program I've created stretched me in different ways. I mean, I'd been planning this. I knew I was going to create the program and got the approval from Suplis 2 years ago. So I've been thinking about this
Yeah.
thing for over 2 years, and also wanting to do it much longer than that. And so I've been testing the workouts for months and months, and then so it's constantly an iterational process. And the amount of times that I've given out, excuse me, the workouts to be tested, but also I tested all the workouts, because also I have to remember too, like I've got a lot of experience on the bag, so I'm definitely more efficient than
Yeah.
most people. So I was like, so I tested it with a bag typically, like I tested most all the workouts with, so a 26-pound bag is the normal weight that I typically use, the bag that you're going to
Yeah.
get.
Yeah.
But I tested it with between a 37 to a 44-pound bag while in the sauna. I have a training sauna and nasal breathing. So I was like, I need to make this as hard as possible on myself to make sure that like it's right for most people. So like I went through the gauntlet of testing it and making sure like, how can I make this harder? How can I make it easier? Test it with other people. So that was wild because I definitely pushed myself in the process. But when I came to filming, bro, oh my gosh, like being a new dad, and and I love the Papa duties, and we shot, so it's a 30-day program. I shot all of those workouts, all of those demonstrational videos, which a lot of the fast ones, the spin, the swing squat, the snatch, the arm throw, you'll see once you get halfway through the video, they're all in slow motion, which you shoot a second time on a different setting on the cameras. So I shot all of that stuff that you see in the woods in 2 days. So it's 12 to 15 hours of
Jeez.
filming, of training, a month's worth of workouts and everything. And it was all basically on one take. And I had some knee issues going in. And if you notice, it's all in the woods because I was tired of doing stuff in the gym and I want people to get outside. And if you notice, the ground's not level. And also, like where I'm standing in this circle, it's like, it's slightly at an elevation. I try to find it, and the footing's off. And so like I'm very like aware of my stance and my feet. Normally we always train right on the gym or on
Yeah.
flat ground. So that changed my movement a lot. So I was like in my head, coaching, teaching, figuring out where the fuck I was, lifting for 12 to 15 hours, teaching nonstop. And then when it came to all the instructional videos, I had to do those, I think I was sharing earlier, but typically between 9 p.m. to 3 or 4 a.m. And it was right when I was sick. And when I shot them all, because it was in my garage on a green screen, you have lights, and in order for a green screen to work, the lighting has to be perfect. And then I send it to my video guy, and one of the lights was off. So I shot over the course of multiple days at those hours when I was exhausted after working all day. And he's like, "I'm sorry, Mike, they're not going to work."
Oh.
And then I reshot him again over the next week, and then I didn't even know, but my microphone had died. So then I reshot him again, and then and then I had to reshoot him again for another reason. So like the amount of times, and also being sick, like I was saying, and then there was other things on the development side, because I don't want to go too deep into it, but the amount of intentionality, even in the platform, like when you look at videos, there's an associated video section at the end of each workout. I had some developers code some stuff, so it's even better of an experience. So, bro, this one like pushed me, and then being up at 4 or 5 a.m. with Luca, like it was a stretch, to be honest. But I'm happy. I'm super stoked with the product.
Yeah. I mean, already in the first, there's like a progress bar at the bottom of it. And I've gone through the first, like the introduction piece to it until you actually start. And it looks awesome so far. It's really well produced. It's really well done. So you did that all yourself. You hit record. There wasn't a team with you that was doing that.
No, all the stuff outside had the team.
Okay.
Everything else, that's what has the gray background. So like 25, 30 videos in the program. Because right now for you, I've got weeks 3 and 4 locked for everyone going through it right now. And then that'll get unlocked. But there's like, I think close to 30 videos and lectures and breathing and all that stuff. So all that was me in my garage with a green screen with 3 lights in front, hitting it, sitting on a thing and going at like 1 a.m., 2 a.m. And also you'll notice, I think on the Bolt test one, Luca had a rough night. And so like, even though I had a microphone, our
Yeah.
bedroom's right above. So you'll notice certain videos, like now watching it back and seeing it all put
Yeah.
together, there's like a little bit of like a tone change in it. Could be on a different day, or it's like I'm trying to be very mindful that Luca's
Right.
right above me. So
That's amazing.
that's why that's you'll notice like I'm like a little bit softer with it. Yeah.
I love the behind the scenes stuff. And I'll tell you what, your second interview on the Building Men podcast probably prepared you for all the shit show technical difficulties. You remember that me and Anthony interviewed you, and it took us like 4 times to get it right. It was like it didn't record, and the sound was off, and it was like 4 times, and I was like, I almost cried. And then that's when you came back on, and we sang to you. That's when we did the "We Got You, Mike" intro to it. So we'll put both episodes back into the show notes so people can go back and take a listen. I also want to be respectful of your time. I love, the fact that you're interested in coming on and sharing your story and walking us through in real time, like not only what it was like, but as I go through it, to give, honest, critique of like, okay, this is how I was prior to, and then this is what I learned during the process. So I'd love again to have you back on in a month or two and share the experience, and then you could talk to us about all the great things that you're doing, and we could start looking forward to the next meta movement thing that's going on as well. So right now in your life, last couple questions here for you, Mike, is what's getting you going besides being a dad? That's an layup, that's an easy one. Besides this course, what's something in your life that you're really excited about right now that you want to share?
Yeah, and I'll comment one thing. It's so interesting as well, like you said, like the behind the scenes thing. Because even when I take courses, like we never get to see the behind the scenes. And
Yeah.
bro, like I cried twice. I cried twice. I was so spent, and like, and I want the best thing coming out, and like with all like I'm so like I said, these things are rite of passages for me, and like I realize like wow, when I say I stretched myself on this and try to put the best thing forward so people can really get a lot out of it. I remember when the second microphone died and I had to redo it, and I was like, we have to launch and I'm already late by 5 days getting this stuff to the video. I legit cried in the garage. I was like, I don't know if I can do
Yeah.
this. I had some coffee, had an espresso shot, and I was like, you need to flip the script right now. And so these things that like, we put our heart and soul into that people don't get to see. And I don't get to, no one really asks me that these questions in terms of what happens behind the scenes. And so, well, I just really appreciate you asking. And also because it is so like, I'm genuinely really proud of this program.
Yeah.
And uh, so yeah, man.
And the other thing too, I appreciate you saying that. It resonates because I mean, when people see you put stuff out on Instagram or they see the video, it all looks polished in a certain way. But the stuff that goes on behind the scenes, it's like gut wrenching sometimes. I know for me, there's a bit of imposter syndrome. I mean, I have a building men course written, but for me to actually put the green screen up and the lights on me and hit record and just talk into nothingness, I have such a hard time with that, dude. It's going on months that I haven't been able to press record on it yet because I look at the little light coming on the camera and I'm like, I can't do this right now, and I stop it, and then I make an excuse to go do something else. I can't do this right now, and so I've already started. I have books and books and books and books of material and content. I know exactly what I'm going to say, but I haven't been able to pull the trigger. So you saying that to me right now, that was the process that you went through and going through the vulnerable piece of talking about how emotional it was for you. In one way, definitely, I appreciate you saying it, but also gives me hope knowing like, okay, I can do it as well. I know that it's there. You just have to get past that self-limiting belief like you were talking about before, self-limiting belief that we all have, right? And as you're holding Luca, you're thinking about like, okay, I need to be talking to myself, so I might need to hold little baby Dennis in my arms right now and have a discussion with him. Like, listen, dude, you can absolutely do this as well. So
Yeah,
it's
100%.
so before before we get going here, first tell us where we can get all this stuff. How do we find all this stuff? Because again, I'll vouch for already how cool it's been me seeing this process go through, and we'll do a follow-up episode. But if somebody wants to sign up for this, to get a Bulgarian bag, to to sign up for this program, how do we find all this stuff?
Yeah, absolutely. I'll share the link with you guys. I'll get you guys a discount as well. I'd love to get set to listeners up. And so if you go to actually just go to my site, mikesalemi.io, and then the upper right drop down, there'll definitely be a link for Athleticism for Life. Because I forget the exact landing page, or we'll include it there. And but mikesalemi.io is the main site. And then that'll give you all the information on the program. You'll get all the bonus modules and everything. And then Instagram is at mike.salemi. And then, to your question earlier, like, what am I most excited about? I'm in a major, I don't want to say pivot is not the right word, but I'm doing something that I've never prioritized, I would say, at the level that I am. And it's really because I'm always like going, like, I'm always doing multiple, like, I do the retreat and then I go to the next thing, finish the bag program. Then I go to
Yeah.
the men's. So I'm actually completely, for the first 6 months of this 2024, Lauren, my wife, is coming on board on the team. I've got a new VA. I've got another guy on the team. And I am literally stepping into being a more effective leader in, for sure, business. And then, of course, in my relationship and as a dad. But I'm setting up the infrastructure to optimize things, to outsource things, to automate things. And so I'm going to be promoting the bag program a lot over the next 6 months, and just taking a step back from the chaos of trying to just output so much stuff and literally put my house in order so that I know I put the right people in place, because Lauren's amazing. This VA I got who's awesome. So that's what I'm most excited about, is to actually get time back and to improve like how I run my business. And because I'm operating at a pace that's not sustainable, and I want more time with my family, especially now that Luke is getting bigger. So that's my look. I'm so excited about. It's like I want to set my business up so it can run more efficiently and less without me grinding so much.
Love that. I feel it. I'm in the same space as well. And it takes so much work to be able to get to that point, but it's like slow is smooth and smooth is fast. Whatever work it takes to get to that point, you'll be skating downhill soon. Last two questions. One, how long until you teach Luca how to shave? I'm sure he has a mustache already. He's 11 months old. I'm sure. I mean, you grew your mustache grew an inch while you're on the Zoom call with me today. So how long until you teach him how to shave?
I'm hoping as quickly as possible. And also, he's already studying how to pull espresso shots. So the two things is how to shave but avoid the area of the stash always,
Right.
and then how Papa pulls espresso shot. And actually, when he hears the coffee grinder on, bro, he lights up and starts giggling. So
It's
I'm like,
amazing. Doing
yes.
something right. As is tradition, last question I always ask is, if someone listens to this podcast, they hit stop, they hit pause right now, what is one thing that they can do? And by doing this one thing, it can really change what's going on in their life.
I'm going to anchor back to breathe light, because it's directly correlated to regulating the nervous system and can help every single aspect, from sleep to focus to stress to energy to performance. So, one thing that they can do right now is close your mouth, nasal breathe, and practice for 2 to 4 minutes as a base level, breathing in about 30% less air than you normally would, breathing softly, breathing silently, almost as if the inside hairs on your nose don't move. And train yourself to stay relaxed, to teach yourself that you're safe, even though you feel the desire to breathe. Find that therapeutic zone where it doesn't send you into a stress state or a panic state. Train that 2 to 4 minutes in the beginning, and then even 10 to 15 minutes. It'll improve blood flow to the brain, energy, calm, sleep. So focus on nasal breathing, breathe light, and just watch it change over the course of the next few weeks.
Love it, dude. Really, really appreciate you being on the Building Men podcast. Those of you who are listening, if you made it this far, please consider rating, reviewing, and more than anything, sharing this episode out with anyone that you think might get some level of value. Third time on the podcast. Can't wait for number 4. My man, Mike Salemi. Truly love you, my man. Truly, truly love you. I'm always here for you in whatever you're doing moving forward. Building Men audience, go one step further than you thought you could go. We'll see you next time on Building Men.